Welcome, everyone, to the Is This Love podcast. Yeah, that's right. You're here for the podcast where we navigate and fly through the weird and wonderful world of love and relationships like two space aliens on a rocket ship towards love. I couldn't think of another word. I am Francis, a.k.a. the other guy, and the one with the lovely laugh is your favorite other host, Sara and Nade. You're not just a co-host, you're the other host.
Yay.
You know, we do this, we're equal partners on this one because we are both very talkative.
We are, yeah.
We don't spare our thoughts when we talk about these wonderful things. Sometimes crazy things, really. The more and more I look up some of these articles, like I was going to put some articles for probably the after show, because you know how we get into these questions and stuff. We really dive in and really dig deep. But there were some articles where I'm like, this is really, I don't know if this is even worth talking about because they're just so niche and so strange. It's like, what if your pets are ruining your relationship? And it's like,
oh,
I mean, okay, I guess like you could talk about that, or what if I don't know, what if your partner likes to pour food on you for fun? It's like, oh, you know, we're not king shaming here. Do what you got to do. Pour
right,
that,
like
pour
you
that
could
ice
either
cream on her.
Ask them to stop or not. That's pretty much the answer to that question.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, those are pretty easy answers, but also just like they're like digging for really out of this world kind of. I guess they just need material. Like, oh, we got to talk about relationships. What can we talk about? Oh, I know. The same five things we always talk about. Oh, let's just talk about that. Yeah. How you been, Sara? Though, how's life been in your neck of the woods?
It's been good. Just like way too hot. There's not enough AC to go around up here. It is so hot, so much hotter than it used to be in the summers.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same thing because it's actually been kind of okay over here. I haven't been too hot, but we're gonna avoid talking about the weather too much, even though it's very actually well, because we did that in an episode.
Yeah, we did.
but we do want to mention, in other words, today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, you get a sweaty Sara. Oh yeah,
I'm not sweaty. I've got all my fans on. Well,
I hear that women don't sweat; they glisten or they glow. They either glisten or glow.
I'll use that from now on.
You never heard of that, huh? You were, oh no, women don't sweat. They glow.
They glisten. Glow.
They glow.
I like that better than glisten.
Yeah. Well, glisten is a little bit more erotic, I guess. But glow, you know, you glow. Anyway, as for myself, not to get too nerdy on anyone here, but I'm starting my first official real life Dungeons and Dragons session with a group of friends that I recently met. And we spent a day painting figurines. That's right, folks. I painted a figurine. It was so I don't know if, you know, I know we both have a small circle of friends, and I have kind of adopted this new group of friends from someone I know tangentially, right? Like I'm getting to know this person, right? And I have never, like, I don't know how your friends are, and I don't know how you act when they do stuff, but I've never been so positively reinforced about anything I've ever done than I have been around these people, right? I've never I've never painted a figure before. And all they did when they saw it was like, oh, that's amazing. I love that you did this. I love you did that. I'm like,
wow.
And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, I mean, I've never done this before, but, and you know, everyone else is obviously better because they've done it for a while. But I'm just like, they're just really good at being that way. And this is also a group of people I play poker with. And again, anytime I had a good hand, they'd like pat me on the back a little bit, and I'm like, what? I'm just learning how to play. I don't know what I'm doing, and it's a very strange experience. I don't know if any of your friends do that.
I belonged to a art, like, drawing meetup years ago, and at least when we were still kind of a smallish group, it was a lot like that. People were very positive and very complimentary to each other, and it's really nice. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, my cynical self had no idea what to do. I was so torn because I'm like, what is this? You're love bombing me. I know. It's like, are you trying to put me into this false sense of security so that I drop my guard and you rob me or something? Like, what is going on here?
They're like all nice to you, and you grab a knife and you're like, stay back.
Sarah, that was my first kind of like, it was in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, I can't think that way. These are nice people. I cannot fend them off. That shouldn't be my first thought, but it really was.
They must be a cult.
But it's all normal stuff. It's like all just like positive, like stuff that you, like I would tell a story about something I did, and they'd be like, "Oh, that was really good." Oh, and just like that. I'm not used to it. I'm just not used to it, and it's a really weird experience. And I'm glad you had an experience like that too. And who knows? Maybe I'll actually start complimenting people instead of cynically looking at them and thinking, "What's wrong with you?" So.
Oh, I think you're very. I don't know if this is the right word, but complimentary, because that also means free. I feel like
but complimentary is the word, I think.
Yeah. I think you are very good with complimentary compliments already.
I'm good at giving them. I'm really bad at taking compliments.
That's actually something a lot of times people have to kind of work on, is like accepting them. I had to work on just saying thank you and not no, I'm not good at that. No, there's really, people are better. You know, it's hard sometimes to just learn to be like, thank you.
Yeah. my go-to line is, I'm not so sure about that. That's whenever I get complimented.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll always do the, I'm not so sure about that. And they're like, just take the compliment. In which I reply,
yeah.
All right.
I had someone get like really mad at me one time.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, it was a family member. And the thing is, another family member is basically the person I learned this from. So I was like, well, why are you yelling at me? They do it even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's a reflection of our upbringing, right? Like, especially if you get complimented a lot growing up, you don't know how to take compliments later on in life. You know, I grew up being criticized about everything I did, so I'm more used to being criticized and being told what I did wrong than I am like, oh, you did a good thing and a right thing or a nice thing. It's like, all right. But you know what? We do this show. We're both nice. We try to give good advice and help people. So
we do.
And look, right now, we actually have, as we get into, oh God, I keep forgetting. You know what? I forgot to do your segment. I will get the segment. I promise people.
What's my segment?
Your segment audio for questions.
Oh, the jingle.
Is this love questions? Yeah, that's going to happen. I just keep forgetting. It's been a really weird, and I'll tell you why in near the end of the show, why it's been a weird few weeks. So bear with me. I will get that jingle up and ready at some point. But let's get into the question segments, even though, because speaking of compliments, question segments.
I feel like you've sung it so many more times than I have by now that
you'll, once I have that audio, you're going to be doing it every single day.
I can't wait. Okay.
It's gonna be great.
So
it's gonna be great.
The first one is a compliment.
Yeah.
Like you said, it is not a question, and it's from Twitter. Kristen says, love the podcast. I've been binging it and even re-listening to a few because you both give me a lot to think about regarding my next relationship. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, you're so welcome, Kristen. Wow. I love that she's like really thinking about it for her next relationship.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't it be nice if you thought about like the important stuff before you jumped into a relationship?
Oh, yeah. That'd be nice.
That's what we all try to do.
Well, no. Well, when you're caught up in not even in the courting process again, I was going to say not even the love process, but the courting process, when you find someone you're attracted to and you're flirting and you're complimenting each other and you're giving each other sexual innuendos and all that stuff,
Yeah.
You don't think about or look out for those red flags because, again, we always put our best foot forward, right? We always try to make ourselves look the best we possibly can. We never go oh, by the way, I have terrible gas all the time. I apologize. Right?
I sort of think that's your number one red flag. You're but what's the gas situation like for you? Before we go any further.
What food products give you gas? Because
are you really into beans? Because I feel I should know that now.
Are you lactose intolerant? I really need to know.
Yeah.
I know not to give you cheese. Okay, good. No cheese for you. But yeah, and then, what is the first thing you think is a red flag there, Sarah? Come on.
Not gas.
Okay.
I think, gosh, I guess kind of trying to figure out if they're being genuine. Mm-hmm. And along with that, if I think they're being honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the hardest hurdle to jump through is the honesty part because, again, we want to look our best. And sometimes looking our best is lying about some of the things that we actually do. We don't want to. You don't want to tell them, oh, by the way, I bite my nails and spit them on the ground. All the time.
And I have one shirt.
and I own one shirt and one pair of underwear that I just turn inside out and wear it for the next day.
Oh my god, I was totally thinking that.
What do you think?
I just flip it in and out every day so the other side can air out. Oh, that's so gross.
Yeah, I know. It's don't mind the skid mark on both sides. Anyway.
Oh.
I know. So anyway, so yeah, no, I'm glad that we're helping out there, Kristen. I hope we can continue to provide you with not just entertainment and some laughs, but also some good, honest suggestions, advice, and even some stories from our experiences that help you find your next love. Because that's something we all most people strive for that, looking for that love, looking for that relationship. So we hope we can help. All right. Now, speaking of which, let's get into our first question. Sarah, what is that?
Okay. My fiancé of 3 years has told me she's falling out of love with me. She confirmed that it is not because I've done anything wrong or that she feels the relationship is toxic. I'm still very much in love with her. Is there a way to fix this?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh because I've experienced this a few times on both ends. Yeah, on both ends. Yeah. And it's when you're the one that's falling out of love, obviously it's obviously easier because you just kind of learn to move on. You've already have one foot out the door and you already know that you're ready to kind of maybe either find the next person or just enjoy being single for a while, which some people really like. They've been together with someone and they just realize, oh, you know what? I really like having my independence and singleness and having that space. That's not the case for everyone, but yeah.
Yeah.
Have you not experienced this at all? Is this what you're telling me?
Oh, well.
Have you ever been on either side?
I think I've experienced someone losing interest in me, but then that kind of made me lose interest in them. Oh. I don't think okay. Yeah, no, I don't know if I really, good. I don't know if I recognized it at the time. Mm-hmm. It just made me feel really bad. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm losing him. I was just like, why is he such a jerk so much of the time? And then when we broke up, I was sad that night, but by the next day I was like, I'm not really upset about it anymore. So I think I was losing interest. I just didn't realize, as he was losing interest also, I just didn't see it that way until after we broke up. Mm-hmm. I guess other than that time, I can't really think of a relationship where I was like desperately in love with someone who I could feel was out of love with me and wanted to keep that, because I think a big thing for me I need from my partner is to know that they want to be with me. So knowing they don't want to be with me is very, very painful, but it makes my interest drop.
Because that's probably, to me, the most comfortable way of breaking up with somebody is if you both kind of lose interest at the same time. And it's weird that you kind of mirror, not weird, but it's kismet that you happen to be falling out of love at the same time. Like, that's really good coincidence or really good timing, I guess, in regards to falling out of love. Not that it's really timed or anything or that you expected it, but
yeah, I guess maybe it's not like falling out of love. It's just like maybe talking to myself and saying, well, of course I don't want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with me. And it still hurts. And I could still love them, but be like, it's just not, I can't do it to myself to stay with someone who wants out, And so it's not like, like you said, it's not really a timing thing. It's sort of just, that's something I need, is to like not be with someone who doesn't want to be with me.
Yeah. I mean, for some people, like this person right here, it really, really difficult kind of to get your brain into that mindset of saying, oh, well, obviously my fiance, which is worse, I think, when it's fiance, because there was plans of a future. Like, there was a plan for marriage and a plan to spend your lives together. And now she's not feeling so much in love anymore. And I feel that this is, again, quite a reflection of my ex-wife and I near the end of our relationship. Was, she thought that even though she was falling out of love when we were getting close to getting married, she thought, oh, well, marriage might be the answer or the key or maybe the Band-Aid that we need to rekindle the relationship. And it wasn't. It wasn't really that. It was a struggle, and it was depressing. I was depressed. I had a lot of issues, and I don't think I helped the situation any. I feel like maybe I could have made it work again if I could bring back to being my old self, happy-go-lucky, and just like in good spirits quite often. I mean, I was the joker. I mean, it took me a long time to get back to this, to where I'm like a person who likes to be funny and make people laugh and like be silly and weird and stuff. That took a long time to get back to that. For many years, I looked like this gigantic rain cloud was over my head all the time, and I was just pouring rain and just water dripping down my face. And my eyes just big and puppy-eyed and everything. That was just my life for years, and I enjoyed nothing, except for a couple things. And maybe I enjoyed, but for the most part, I enjoyed nothing. And living a life like that is really tough, obviously. But you can't rekindle a love by doing that. And I do think you can rekindle. I think it's possible. Even though I almost feel like I may be contradicting what I said about the person, like when the roles were reversed, right? That, oh, well, it's tough to rekindle it, but I always want to, I always like to root for the underdog, and the underdog is the person who's still in love, right? That's the underdog. Right. And I always want to root for them, and I always want to give them hope, because, again, life is just so unpredictable. It's so unpredictable. And you turn a corner and things change. Like, people just change their mind sometimes, right? Yeah. They just change their mind. For instance, your fiance, maybe one morning, looks at you, gets that fuzzy feeling that she had that first time you guys were together, and is like, you know what? Oh, I think I do love this guy or girl or whatever, right? I love this person. And it's just, okay, I don't want to end this relationship. And it might happen. You don't know. It's weird. Just like you as a person will go to bed one day and wake up not different, but your mind kind of just figured stuff out. Has that ever happened to you, Sarah, where you just kind of you felt one way for a while, and then just something, just a switch was turned on, or like a light bulb went off or something, and you decided, oh, you know what? I'm moving in a direction, this other direction.
Well, that can happen. Like, you can sort of have an epiphany or make a change in your life suddenly. But also our minds can go back and forth on stuff, and it can happen over periods of time.
Sure.
Which is why, in this case, you know, if my partner's like 1.5 feet out the door, at that point I might be like, okay, I'm not going to try to force them to stay if they really don't want to be here anymore. But I wouldn't do that, you know, as soon as they tell me they're having issues. I would try to figure out if that's really how they feel all over, or if they're going through something like a temporary mind situation, like you said. Like, they woke up one day and they're like, you know what? Things in my life are not making me happy. Maybe I should change my relationship. And maybe it's other things too. And we just sometimes can't always piece together in our head what exactly is making us unhappy. And maybe it is the relationship. But I would talk to them first, try to figure out, like, how long have they felt this way? Yeah. Do they think it could be anything else? You know, I would talk to them a little bit about it. I wouldn't just be like, well, it sounds like he's not going to do that either. He's not going to say, well, she says she doesn't love me, so bye.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. I mean, he's asking if there's a way to fix it. So obviously, you know, he wants to try and do something to make it work. Yeah.
And talking about it is important, and trying to figure out where this came from. If she says, no, I just don't love you anymore and that's it and I'm done, well, there's not much you can do about that. But talk about it for sure. And I feel like there's so many articles and stuff about how to rekindle your relationship and the spark, you know?
Yeah. I mean, again, relationships can get stale. It happens when you're with someone for a long period of time, whether hopefully it's way down the road, like 5 or 6 years down the road, when things need a little bit of a push back into the right direction. But it happens, and there are ways to rekindle that relationship. Maybe even taking her out on dates, or doing something that kind of gives a bit of a reminder. Right? Don't force it, obviously. But if she's willing and open to be like, yeah, I'll go on a date with you, or yeah, we'll go to a picnic or something. Doing stuff where you guys do stuff together and remind each other, or more, I guess really more reminding her of why you guys were together in the first place. And again, just ask her about if that's something she'd like to do. And if she's willing to do it, do that. Because to me, even though she says she's falling out of love, if she's willing to give you a chance, might as well take it and go and do those things. But yeah, otherwise, Sarah's 100% right. Like, you cannot control other people, right? You can only control yourself. And so if they fall out of love, you can sue them if it's been before.
Oh, God.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
A whole other episode there. But you can at least make an attempt to bring back that love and feeling.
Yeah. And yeah, like there's a lot of different suggestions out there. Now you're right, going on dates again, I can't remember off the top of my head like the other ones, but I know that there's a lot of resources.
Yeah, just don't go overboard is all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, and make sure she's on board, and yeah, you're not like dragging this out. And I've also heard I've heard from different like relationship coaches that I've followed and like read some of their stuff, that when people are going to break up with their partner, they go through a long process of like the attraction falling. Mm-hmm. So, but it's possible for attraction to rebuild. Yeah. So it's not always, once it's gone, it's gone. Not always the case.
Yeah. It's that whole, if you love somebody, let them go, saying.
Yeah, I mean. You could. That might be what ends up happening.
I know.
Unfortunately.
And they might come back, all right?
They might, yeah.
You never know. It's, again, people are weird. It's why our show even exists, is because we try to dissect it, because we know that it is a weird and complicated web. Two relationships are never the same, right? Everyone is different, either minute or huge. And so don't give up hope. Again, try asking her if she'd like to go out on a date. See if you guys can't at least remind each other of that love that you once had. And if it's not something she's willing to do, or if it's not something that you feel after that date, then you know, maybe just kind of having to maybe resolve and keep talking to each other, and hopefully if it's a relationship that just can't be reconciled, that you can at least go as friends or something, right? And not lose that whole thing altogether, especially if you guys have spent a lot of time together. All right.
That can work sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
In your opinion, what are some things wrong with relationships in today's society that weren't as much of an issue in the past? What?
Sarah, what do you think? What's wrong with relationships in today's society?
What's wrong? Well, I think probably I will just blame everything on technology, right?
Oh, I would have done the same thing. If I went first, I would have said the same exact thing.
Yeah, I think that first of all, social media makes us compare everything. You know, our relationships to other people's relationships. Also, like the ability to cheat is easier thanks to all of that and like the dating apps. And there's also an ability to invade people's privacy more and like snoop more.
Which I actually think isn't necessarily a bad thing if you're at least trying to find red flags and see whether or not they're crazy.
Okay, yeah. If you like, I think it's great that you can like do a background check on someone.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, maybe this isn't that common, but I've heard so many times where people sneak into their partner's phones and just, it seems to me that a lot of people don't see that as that big of a deal.
I think it's become more, I would say, commonplace because I was an article or something, I don't remember, where, well, I think we did it here, where someone was willing to give up their phone and their email addresses and everything just to remember that one artitle or story.
Yeah. I mean, if you're willing to, that's not snooping if they gave you permission, but God, and then I read a story the other day about someone who went into his girlfriend's diary. He just read her diary, and I cannot tell you how many comments on the story were like, well, it wasn't wrong because you found out that she has confusing feelings about her ex. Like everybody has confusing feelings and thoughts. It's just you can't usually crack someone's brain open and look at them.
I think because the internet has made us so suspicious of everyone and everything, because like you said, it's so much easier to cheat. It's so much easier to hide things.
Yeah.
I think people feel justified being able to do this kind of stuff and snoop because
they do feel justified.
Yeah.
They're like, if I find something, or if they even made me feel like I might find something, then it's okay. And yeah, I guess it is up to each of us if we want to put our whole lives on our phones and on the internet for everyone to see, but everyone does it, and it makes it way easier for people to dishonestly snoop and sneak on their partner as well, in addition to the cheating thing, which I guess are two sides of the same coin because one person cheats and then the other person snoops. I don't know. I think some of those technological things just weren't issues before. Like, yes, people might have read each other's diaries and done like little, like, you can always hire a private investigator, but not that many people were doing it, I don't think.
Yeah, but we had our thoughts were our own, and we weren't sharing everything, and we weren't comparing relationships because people weren't putting just the good stuff online. people weren't just putting their, look at me and the boyfriend, we're so happy together. And then once they stop recording, I hate you so much. Oh my God, I just want to, they don't, you never get to see the ugly side because they hide that from the world. And then everyone just gets jealous and, oh, I wish I had that. And they like, oh man, I wish I had this. And I don't know. You're right. Technology. Why? We need to go back to the dark age.
Okay, I mean, I have to say there's a lot of things about relationships that are better than the past. Yeah. I don't know if going to the dark ages is the answer.
No. Back when we had to kill their husband in order to get their wife.
Right.
Back in the medieval times when...
So much poisoning. So many women poisoning. This is the only way to get a divorce. You had to poison them.
Yeah, you had to poison them. How'd they die? Natural causes. All right, well, let the widow, give the widow some time. And then they find someone else.
Watch out for that killer soup that's killing all the guys.
Oh, man. And they weren't good at poisons yet, so it really hurt. It was really tough.
Right. It could be messed up. I mean, it's messed up anyways, but it could not be a pleasant death.
So I guess what's good with relationships now that was an issue in the past is poisonings. No one really poisons each other anymore.
It's a lot harder to get away with it. Yeah. It's nice that it's not as easy to murder your partner as it was in the past.
That's true. It's nice.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work. What was I? Was it a movie or some type of description of a book or a movie where some woman hired a hitman to kill their husband or something, but it took so long. Oh no, a husband hired a hitman to kill his wife, and the wife ended up beating up the assassin and apparently, and this is a real story. Apparently, it happened. The wife was able to fend off the hitman and try to find out who hired him in the first place to kill her.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
Yeah, so she survived.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, awesome for what she was able to accomplish, not the rest of it.
Yeah, everything else is terrible. But let's see, what's wrong with today's society? I think there's a lot less... I mean, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I think there's just a lot less emphasis on the family, I think. More and more people don't want to have children. People don't want to build families anymore, which I think is interesting. More and more people, because more people are staying young, as they get older, they still want to be able to do things and have fun and be able to stay youthful for as long as possible. And so the idea of children is just a burden. Kids are just a burden, and they're just going to, harsh or mellow, and you want to be able to go out there and go to Disneyland and go to things that you should have probably put aside when you were younger. But a lot of adults hold on to that type of thing because they want to have fun and they want to enjoy their lives more because we look younger, right? We stay looking younger.
Yeah, I mean, health is much better.
Health is much better. I mean, for some people it's better.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, people tend to live longer, but not everybody. I do think that there's also a lot of people who just genuinely do not want kids at all. And for many, many years, that wasn't okay. It was like, no, your job is to make babies. And maybe people, it's like the movement of being childless has become more accepted, and also, overpopulation, maybe people aren't quite as... They have sort of like a good reason. Another good reason to not do it,
Yeah, I don't know are we overpopulated?
I don't know. Didn't we hit 8 billion recently or something?
That doesn't necessarily mean overpopulated, though. I don't know. I mean, I have to look it up, but... if it is a case of overpopulation, I don't even know if it's necessarily that more than it is a lifestyle thing where people do not want to have that. Well, also because, people aren't making as much money as they used to as well. So it's a financial burden. It's a social burden. There's a lot. Kids are a burden. I mean, kids are great, but also kids are a burden. Like
Yeah.
it's just is what it is, right? Like it costs money to have a kid. It costs money to raise them and to clothe them, to feed them, and that can be really tough on a lot of people. But I think that's something that I think was, even though you say it was a job, I think people, for the most part, it was considered a good thing, right? Like that people have families, and that was exciting and fun, and it was like, oh, we're doing this, we're building this new generation up, and we're, it is fulfilling, and like, oh, I am contributing to society in a way by, making and molding the new generation. Because I think also that's the thing people lack, right? Some people lack focus and a purpose in life nowadays.
Well, I think a lot of people still get really excited about it. I mean, I have a lot of friends and family who are very much into the parenting, lifestyle, and that's cool. I do also know that, and I'm not saying this is true of them, there is a thing where parents who regret it are kind of silenced.
Yeah.
So,
well,
there's also potentially a lot of parents who were like, I was led to believe this was going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, especially if, the child is a little more independent, or maybe just suffering from some things or whatever. It may feel a little tougher, obviously, or a lot tougher. So I can appreciate that. So, but I think that's also, but again, that's the different the thing that's changed that I feel is very different from the past than it is nowadays, is that there's just a lot less emphasis on building families, which is either good or bad. I guess it's not either or. There's no good or bad to it. It's either or.
Right. Yeah.
And another thing, I guess, would be incels.
You think that's new? That's a newer thing?
Well, again, yes. I think so, yes, because nowadays, and I think we've read some, I don't know if we read them on here, but there's, we've at least alluded to or talked about articles where fewer and fewer men are dating and having sex and getting to relationships, while women have a pick of the litter. No matter who you are as a lady, you get to pick the best of the best in forms of looks and whatever from men, because especially with online dating, you're not going to swipe right on the dude that looks like you. Or
I would say some women have the pick of the litter.
I'm curious if there are as many subgroups of women as there are of men, right? Like of the the incels and the men go their own way, and they're all these groups are the red pills, all these guys that are like, I'm over here and I'm this thing, and like, is there the same kind of subcategories for women who are also feeling kind of shunned by society?
I mean, you will find them, but Reddit and other like forums and things like that are predominantly male. They're like male dominated spaces.
Yeah.
So you're not going to find quite as much sympathy or space for women. Not to say that there isn't any. There's a lot of guys on there who will back up, female voices who are saying, hey, well, that's not true, or that's not really fair, or that's, I'm not saying that all guys on there are just like misogynists or anything, but they are generally understood to be male-dominated spaces. Yeah. So there's going to be less. And generally from what I've seen, when I've seen like spaces for women to say, hey, it's not easy for us either, guys from the equal opposite spaces will come and say, that's BS. You could have sex with some ugly, hideous, alley, like scary serial killer. So you could have sex with someone, but I can't have sex with anyone. So your experience is not the same as mine. And I guess not, but
yeah,
it's just not a great place for women to talk about that kind of stuff, because they're going to be getting those guys to come over and say, whoa, you can't complain because you don't know what it's like for me and all of my friends who are now going to come over and, harp on you.
Yeah, no, I agree, because that actually happened. I did witness that, because I follow the Forever Alone regular, Forever Alone women, and Forever Alone over 30, and are you're right. They're exponentially fewer women that at least are on the Forever Alone women subreddit. And then you're right. your scenario plays out way more often than not when a woman says, "Oh yeah, I can't. No one loves me, or no one likes me. No one looks at me. Whatever, whatever." And then some dude from the Forever Alone forum goes over and says, "Well, actually." It sucks more for us men than it does for you. And it's like, no, you cannot belittle this person's actual lived experience because you're experiencing it as well, you know. So it's a really interesting. You're 100% right on that. Like, it's a really skewed, very much, unfortunately, I guess, male because where is a space that women feel comfortable airing
Pinterest.
Pinterest?
They don't air anything. It's just, no, I'm joking. They don't really talk about anything on it. It's hard. Actually, some might say the internet is kind of a male heavy space. A lot of women just don't want to express things on the internet because they're afraid of the aggressive backlash.
Yeah.
So I know lots of women were like, oh, harassment. Yeah. And there's like certain things, controversial things. If a man says it, it's just not that big of a deal. If a woman says it, oh my God, all hell's going to rain down upon her.
Yeah.
And it can be the same thing or it could be an equal but opposite thing. And even if they're like technically probably not going to be doxxed or actually like someone is going to come find where they live or anything, it's still very upsetting to be attacked like that.
Oh yeah.
And harassed in that way. So a lot of women just don't say anything. They just keep their opinions to themselves or talk amongst some friends and don't put it out there. You know, just don't let it become a thing.
You know, before the internet, there were things called girls' nights, or there would be women who would gather and like have tea together or something, or just hang out and like have mimosas or something. Very, I guess, the stereotypical stuff that you see on like TV and whatever.
Like a ladies' night or girls' night out or something.
Girls' night out or like, you know, brunch, I guess, is also a very female heavy activity, I guess. Brunch is, because
I don't know, all the guys I know love brunch. I mean, who doesn't like brunch?
I don't know. I can't argue with you on that one, Sarah, because who doesn't like brunch? But I think
you just think of those mimosas.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't have mimosas because I'm never invited to ladies' brunch.
When will I get my mimosa? That's all I want to know. I think the biggest issue with the relationships nowadays is totally A, the lack of mimosas, and B, the this is going to sound terrible, but everyone has been given a voice, and that sucks.
Yeah, in some ways, for sure.
Well, in the sense of people couldn't say, you didn't have to hear stupid stuff that people said all the time, always, right? Like, you didn't have to, you know, you walk down the street and Jimmy and Tammy are like, hey, you know, we're saying dumb stuff, but you can just turn the corner and you never have to hear it again. Right? But it's in black and white on your screen. You scroll through, your friend gets angry, they reply. Then your other friend gets angry and brings you into it, and then you gotta go.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Why am I in this argument? And you just but to ignore the argument means that you're not supporting your friends, but to enter the argument means that you have more just piled upon you.
Goodness. I think you're involved in a lot more social media drama than me.
Oh, no. This doesn't happen to me, luckily. I'm just saying this is stuff I've witnessed. I fortunately have never been in that because I have no friends. But
No, but I know what you mean. I've heard people tell me about this kind of drama for sure. I'm just like, I don't engage like in that stuff. I think I hear about it a lot, but seems really stressful, to be honest.
Totally. And that's kind of why when I'm online, I just post funny things if I can. And I never talk about politics. I never talk about religion. I never talk about the current big thing that's happening, because it's not worth it. It's just not worth it because someone is going to attack you, and I just don't feel like being attacked. I just want to have fun, and when the internet was just all about being silly and weird and like posting, you know, weird hamster dance memes and stuff, and like
hamster dance,
yeah, or crazy frog or something, and just like that's all you did was do that for a few hours, and then you logged off. You went offline and you lived real life. You know? But now, now, unfortunately, because of our phones, because of everything, that's our life now. Like, that's kind of the world we live in. And so dating and relationships and love and you know, being suspect and looking at each other's sneaking onto each other's phones and looking at everything and blah, 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 because we just need to do all that stuff. And so I missed the 80s, even though I wasn't old enough to have a relationship. I miss them. It's the 80s. It was a simpler time then.
Yeah.
I had Mr. Belvedere to look up to. Anyway, yes, Sarah.
I was going to say pre-social media.
Yeah. Social media was the big mistake. Like the biggest mistake, I think. The creation of Facebook, really. MySpace was just your ability to be, MySpace was to show your favorite people, you know, your top 8 favorite people, and play really annoying MIDI music in the background of your favorite song.
It'd be great if we had like a reduced capacity social media. I mean, it'll never go that way, but like just less.
More,
you know?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Just less sharing of your personal life and more, I don't know, again, like playing that, playing Nirvana's heart-shaped box on MIDI on your MySpace page while people look at glowing unicorns and the blinking under construction sign that you just never got rid of, but you're like, oh well, you know, I'm still working on it, you know.
I do like that. I would like MIDI music and unicorns for social media, definitely.
Oh, young people, you haven't heard music until you've heard it in MIDI. I'll tell you that now. Those 2 notes or whatever it was that played.
It makes everything sound good.
It did. Oh man, the way they made it sound like they were singing, but it was really just like, like, oh yeah. It was amazing. All right. Now, you know, a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, but we got to get a little solemn because we got some heavy stuff here on the right cow, left coast corner. Normally, Sarah would share some of this stuff. I just want to share a couple of the first part of this email that Right Cow is kind enough to send us every week. Despite kind of circumstances, you'll understand in a minute. But he wrote it in the email, so I feel comfortable to share it. So he says, first time listening to this podcast as a widower. I lost my better half, my wife, at 13 p.m. on Saturday, July 23rd. It's always, you know, I've been fortunate never to have lost a significant other in any way, shape, or form in that way, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you haven't either, Sarah, where you haven't.
I have not, no.
I can't even imagine. And again, it was his wife, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine either.
So you know, everyone grieves and mourns in their own way, and you know, I guess writing to us and listening to our show is the way that Right Cow does, and I knew both of them. I knew him. I'm friends with Right Cow and his wife, and we hung out a few times, and they were just you know, she was just such a lovely person. Like, it's really interesting to cope with knowing that a person that you've actually talked to, that you've been face to face with, that was, you know, young and, you know, full of laughter and joy, that you don't get that moment anymore, that you won't have moments like that in the future. And it's a really difficult kind of thought to process.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people may have I don't know. I'm assuming a lot of people may have gone through this type of situation where they've lost a friend like that, and so you guys can empathize. And it's been I just can't imagine how tough it is for Right Cow. And he also says, Francis, please take care of yourself so that you may have many decades more of life, and that you can grace us with hundreds of more podcasts. I don't know, hopefully not hundreds of more episodes, maybe, but not hopefully individual podcasts. But boy, oh boy, I don't have that many ideas. But I would hate to lose you to the other side of the veil, to the afterlife or whatever follows this existence. And he's mentioning something that I'll save till the end. But yeah, I understand where he's coming from, and I obviously we don't want anyone who we're close to pass. Now, there's more of this email, but there's one. The next paragraph you said you have a little thought on, because you apparently know this movie that he's talking about. I
do. Well, he says, one of the movies I like is Defending Your Life, an Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep movie. I pray that my better half successfully passes her review/trial. And I love that movie. I've watched it so many times since I was a kid. Wow. It is a really funny, cute romantic comedy about the afterlife. Basically, everyone goes to this place called Judgment City, where it's nice and relaxing and all the food's amazing, but you spend 5 days there and you have a defender and a prosecutor, and they go over some days of your life in front of some judges, and they're trying to prove whether or not you overcame fear in your life.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if you overcame fear within your last lifetime, you get to move on in the universe and progress and become smarter and smarter and smarter. And if you didn't, you have to go back to Earth and be reincarnated as a new person and try again. Wow. And Rip Torn plays his defender, and he is hilarious.
Oh, I'm going to have to watch this movie.
It's so good, and I just love it so much, and I used to think all the time that would be, like, such a good idea for the afterlife if that was the case. Yeah. I think my mom still is like, I think that the afterlife is defending your life. Okay. And I totally get what he's saying, like, hopefully our loved ones pass the trial and get to move on, and we pass our trial and we get to move on, and we get to work together in Judgment City as defenders and prosecutors and eat the amazing food and just become smarter and smarter. And it's really, really nice. And I just loved when he said that, because I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And yes, that would be wonderful.
Oh, well, that's such a, with everything going on, that's a nice little positive twist to everything, I guess. Just like a little levity, and given everything that's been going on. But we here on the show, Sarah and I, do give our most deep and condolences and thoughts to you and your family, what you're going through. I know that we'll go more through your email, but I know that there is at least I guess I'll mention it now. There's a GoFundMe for his wife to take care of the final arrangements. Now, the GoFundMe, I'll put a link of it on it in the show notes as well, so you don't have to just remember what I'm about to say. But if, for instance, you kind of want to just do it now, you happen to be listening and something you want to contribute. Again, this is a person who contributes to this show every single week, hasn't missed a week. Always giving us things to think about, to talk about. And again, to those listening who may have met Right Cow and his wife, what wonderful people and what lovely people they are. So that this is like a very big deal and really close to my heart. And if you can spare $1 or $2 to this GoFundMe, just go to gofund.me/FA603618. That's FA603618. That's going to lead you to the GoFundMe to, again, help take care of final arrangements as again, just something that can help them out in any little way would be fantastic. Now, Sarah, what else did Right Cow talk about here in his email?
Well, he was referencing when we talked about shipping characters in our previous episodes. And he said that his wife had a huge online life with an online family and deep connections with many of them. She had an online husband on Red Banna Nexon Audition. Okay. And even when he stopped playing, she never broke her online marriage with him.
Oh, that's cute. Okay.
When she committed, she was all in. She got to meet a few of her online family and friends in person, including her online husband. He even came to Comic-Con with us a few years. And I know my loss of her is shared deeply with others, and that I'm not the only one going through it. Yeah. He then goes on to say, emotions are raw, and even though we all care for my late wife, it has caused some miscommunication, hurt feelings, and anger. I hope those relationships are able to mend, but I realize some relationships will never fully recover. But I also know my late wife would want us to fight. If anything, perhaps some of those relationships were viable as my late wife was the moderator and was able to translate each other's communications to a way that the other person was able to understand. I think that's hopefully true. You know, things can mend and get better. And I'm really sorry that, you know, you're going through some sort of issues with those relationships at this time. That must be really, really hard.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, people are weird and complicated sometimes. It's just how people are, you know. It just can't figure them all out.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like you are optimistic about that. So, and I hope it all sorts itself out with that community. Yeah. And then he goes on to say, several of these episodes are about cheating infidelity. What are the statistics about infidelity? The odds of relationship repair recovery? The odds of separation or breakup? And what leads to either outcome? And I actually...
Did you look this up?
A little bit.
Oh, nice.
A little bit. I kind of like Googled and went to like the top results, like Wikipedia and like Therapy Inc.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But what I see is okay.
Because I have from a weird website, but apparently these are statistics. Let's see. I want to know where this person got these statistics from, though, because these numbers are very strange. Oh, wow. He does. This person does back up their statistics with sources. So,
yeah, I got like a lot of different numbers from different sources.
Yeah.
I think so then at the end they say studies suggest 30 to 40% of unmarried relationships and 18 to 20% of marriages see at least one incident of sexual infidelity. Oh. Some interesting things split in the genders is that some recent studies show that it can be as high as twice as many men as women cheat. But other studies show that when men cheat, it is more likely that the relationship will stay together than when women cheat.
Wow. I wonder why that is.
Maybe men are better at being like, sorry, you know?
Well,
I don't know.
Again, for me, right, like, look, it's fairly common knowledge that if a dude is horny, they automatically stop thinking with their brain, right? And start thinking with their other head, right? Like that's all on their mind. And I think once they get it out of their system, there's often regret, right? Because once you've been fulfilled in that respect, there's usually a clarity of mind to where then you feel regret for your actions. And I think that's why it's like, well, I'm never going to do that again because I hate the feeling afterwards. While maybe there's not necessarily that same thing for women, because I don't even know if women, because my understanding is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but women don't necessarily need to have like an orgasm to have a fulfilling sexual experience or relationship. Sometimes they just need to feel, I don't know, something. But so for them, they may not come down from that necessarily and feel that regret, and so therefore it's a little different. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here as a possibility as to why.
Well, I don't think that there's any one reason for either gender, because in both genders there are people who are totally selfish, or who are serial cheaters, or serial cheaters, or there are people who are very empathetic and made a mistake, or have the capacity to feel remorse or less remorse. So, the range is big within both groups. So any one reason why either gender cheats or decides to try to make the relationship work, there definitely isn't going to be just one. I would say, if I had to guess, maybe when women cheat, there is more of an emotional aspect. So maybe it's more likely that they will fall in love with their partner.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
And not want the original relationship anymore. And that's not necessarily the answer for all of them, because there's also men who leave their wives for a new partner.
Yeah.
And there's also men who say, I can never forgive her because a lot of guys are like, the thought of another man with my wife, with her body, is so abhorrent to me. I'm just done.
Or they think it's really hot.
Well, are you talking about like cuckolding? Because that's a whole other thing.
Anyway, go on.
And then there's a lot of women who might say, oh, I love him so much and I'll forgive him.
Yeah.
But the opposite is true. Also, there's a lot of women who say, once a cheater, always a cheater, get out of my life. And there's a lot of dudes who say, oh, I love her so much. I believe that she didn't mean it. I want her to stay. And that's why it's not 100% either way. Mm-hmm. But these are some things that might tilt more towards one gender or the other, in my opinion. And just from the limited things that I've read, even though I've read several instances of both sides, I don't know everyone's situation,
That's true. It's interesting, though, that the numbers are still fairly high. In relation to relationships, right? It's still pretty big. The one statistic here from this website that I'm looking at says emotional affairs are more frequent than any other type of infidelity. Around 90% of women and around 77% of men worldwide admit to having committed an emotional affair.
That does make sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
An emotional affair is easier to, fall into.
And easier to excuse.
It's easier. Well, some people say an emotional affair to them is worse if their partner did it. But it is easier to, excuse in your own mind or say that's not what's happening. Or I have these thoughts and feelings, but they're just in my head, so nothing's going to happen with them.
It's not like I touched them or kissed them or had sex with them. I just emotionally connected with them in a way that would be, I get it. Yeah. I've probably done that at some point where I've emotionally connected with another woman or another man even, where I'm just like, hey. But, I get it.
Yeah. And there's such thing as liking someone else, but I guess that line of where it turns into an emotional affair can get kind of fuzzy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And again, I think people will kind of just ignore it because it's like, well, I didn't see them naked, so what's the big deal? I didn't.
Right. It's not as black and white.
Yeah. I didn't touch their boobie, so all right. Anyway. So yeah, there's a lot of statistics there, right, Cows? So hopefully we did answer some of it. What's the next question there?
Well, he also goes back to our talk of the heartbreak lawsuits, and he says, because like you were saying before, it says litigation of relationships, does that hurt more? Even if there is some fiscal gain, would it be worth the expansion of emotional damage? And we did talk about this last time.
Yeah.
I personally felt like, no, it would not. Maybe for some people who were just like, I want to gut him any way I can, but I personally feel, no, it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah. Well, again, it's so funny to me because it's like the money, it's like this money is connected directly to my ex and I'm spending it to get things that I want. I don't know. Yeah. Can you reason that out in your own head? Like, yeah, but this is still connecting me to this person. And then when I buy the thing, it's going to remind me of that person because I bought it with the money that I got from being hurt by this person, right? Like,
yeah, that's totally true. I mean, maybe for some people it's really cathartic to know that they hurt someone who hurt them.
Yeah. And
I can't imagine a situation where I would be that angry at someone afterwards, but the situation might exist in, the realm of possibilities. So,
I mean,
I can't think of any situation I've experienced so far where I would say, yes, I want to sue them. That's just me. Other people might love that, the ability to do that.
The number of people I've told my story to, because I always, as time passes, I find it more funny than it is heartbreaking with my ex-wife. Mm-hmm. The more and more, I'm sure that if I told them, and I could have sued her, they would have said, yes, do it to the ground. Because I'm certain that I would have been really encouraged, because I have told people this story, my story, and they're like, I hate her. Where is she? I want to punch her in the face. I'm like, oh, wow, you don't have to do that. It's like, but you're so nice. I'm like, I'm not really.
Well, I get that too. I get like that sort of like justice, like energy for someone else's pain, where I'm like, yes, if you had the opportunity, you definitely should. But if it came to like my situation, I'd be like, well, I don't know, but I would want it for you.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm the only one going like, nah, we don't have. You don't have to go that far. But I also say, I'm not really going to stop you, though, if you just end up in that situation. Anyway, all right. And I just want to answer this one. Yes, you have a corner, right, Cal?
Yeah.
You definitely have a corner.
Always.
Always
when you want it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think this one is directed to me because I mentioned synagogue in the last episode.
Yeah, this is not something that you advertise usually about you, but I do find it funny that Right Cow was quick to catch on to this.
He picked up on that, yeah. So he says, how are relationships different among different types of Jewish communities, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, conservative, Reformed, etc.? Does it differ from relationships outside the Jewish ethnicity/religion? In high school, I was seeking a relationship with a nice Jewish girl who attended Lowell High School in San Francisco. I wondered if, because I am not Jewish, it was a barrier to having made a crush we both had on one another evolve into a deeper relationship. But perhaps it was not meant to be all the crushes and girlfriends that came before my wife and I found each other. Mm-hmm. Well, you're right. It wasn't meant to be because, that's how we end up in all of our situations is, I don't know, maybe that's just me. I think you wouldn't be where you are today if the things that happened and the things that didn't happen didn't go the way they were. So right. I kind of agree with you there.
Yeah.
I'm actually, my family and I are Reformed Judaism. So we're kind of like the less strict version. And within Reformed Judaism is a wide range of what people prefer, how they feel about things. My family is not really that concerned with dating
other Jewish people.
Other Jewish people. Honestly, we've kind of all been with either Jewish people or just not religious people. Mm-hmm. In general, my brothers-in-law are both non-religious. My boyfriend's non-religious. I don't think any of them are planning on converting, and it's not really an issue. I will say that I think Judaism is like pretty much every other culture and religion where there are communities that are more strict, communities and denominations that are more strict, and they will have probably different feelings about that.
Sure.
For Judaism, converting actually is considered or supposed to be considered the same thing as being born Jewish. Like, both of those things are equally Jewish. So if you convert, you're supposed to be just, welcomed in and all that. Of course, there's hypocrites and people who try to be gatekeepers in every community. I haven't met any personally, but I know that there's jerks in every community who were
sure.
They didn't go to Jewish school like me, so I'm a little bit better than them somehow.
There's elitism in the Jewish community.
Oh, right. There's elitism everywhere. Yeah, definitely. So if you had, if you'd ever been with a Jewish person and decided to convert, you would, you'd be Jewish, and then it wouldn't be an issue no matter how their family feels about it. But I think the thing with these like different communities that tend to be more strict, whether it's cultural or ethnic or religious, they're worried about, their family members maybe dating outside, because what if that person they date doesn't want to convert or doesn't want to like join their community, and instead their family member gets taken out of the community. And so I think that's where some of that, that like fear, and maybe I couldn't date this person because her parents, I wasn't the same as her.
Yeah.
I think that just happens in some of those communities. And it's probably not even everyone in that particular small community. It could just be the people who are, the best at shaming other people. I don't know.
How can I properly shame you into doing what I want?
I mean, that's kind of what it takes. I'd be like, you will make us so disappointed if you date that boy over there.
What if he's... Now, like, are there any, like, half Jewish people? Like, I guess if you had children with a non-religious person, would they be...
So, technically, in most Jewish denominations, you are Jewish if your mother was Jewish.
Not if your father was?
Unless you're Reformed, like me, and then it's either parent.
Oh, either parent.
But... the other denominations might say, well, that's just you making up your own rules, like. Yeah,
they're house rules, like Monopoly, you can get the free parking money in the middle and you land on free parking.
Yeah, I mean, we decide, like, this is, certain things are like, that's not how we feel about that. Mm-hmm. So probably most Jewish people would say, no, it has to go through the mother, in which case, if the wife converted and then she had kids, they would be Jewish, because being a convert is the same as being born Jewish within Jewish law.
Okay. Wow.
So
very complicated, this whole thing.
I guess so. If your dad's Jewish and you're not Reform, and your dad's the only one who's Jewish, then you're just not Jewish, I guess. You're not half Jewish.
Oh, yeah. You're not a full Jew. You're just Jewish. I gotcha.
Oh, my God. Oh, that was bad.
Sorry.
Suffice it to say that, it's probably the same thing that happened with any of those kinds of communities. Her family just didn't want to risk losing her, having her leave the community it's just safer to have someone in the community date their kids, because then they know they're not going to try to persuade them to leave and make things complicated for the family.
Of course. Yeah. Oh my. Well, he does write, though, that he and his wife were together for 2 decades. So I did not know that. I have only known them for about 5-6 years so far. So I did not know it had been that long. So that's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Look, he writes also that the next emails for the next 2 podcasts may be more difficult, and whatever you're comfortable, like, don't feel like you have to share, if it feels overwhelming, right? Just, if you feel comfortable, we'll be happy to talk about it. We'll happy to share our thoughts as well, and continue to provide the link to, if for the assistance at the GoFundMe, and of course continue to give our condolences. So no worries. We're here to hopefully not necessarily take your mind off things, but just make things give you something a little more humorous, and just to, because it's a lot of heavy feelings for a long time. I can appreciate it. I understand. It's a really difficult thing to go through, and we'll do our best to kind of be our silly selves here, Sarah and I. Because again, Nade, very common Jewish last name. All right. So there were some pages that
yeah. So Right, Cal Left Coast shared some of his wife's art profiles. And my gosh, she posted so much art, and her style is so beautiful and playful. And I looked at some of it, and I just really loved her art. And I think you can, a lot of your personality comes out through your art, and there's something really special about being an artist of any kind and posting online, because you create like a public legacy that goes on forever.
Yeah.
And he shares it. He wants to share it to everyone. And I really encourage people to go look at it, because you can tell that she just had an amazing imagination and a lot of fun with her art. And her stuff is really fun and beautiful. But she has 2 DeviantArt accounts. One is Ms. Cherbear, which is spelled MSCHERBEAR. Another one is Lil2 Saturn, which is LIL, the number 2, SATURN. And her Facebook sketchbook is Cherbear's Sketchbook, which is again CHERBEAR SKETCHBOOK. And that's her Facebook page. And yeah, I really recommend that if you get a chance to go look at them, because her art really is very lovely.
Yeah, she when I was doing Twitch streaming for a little while, she also did the same, and I saw her art for the very first time. Then I'm like, I was very impressed, and let her know that, because she was in my chat room at the time. So yeah, I'll put the links on the description as well, so you can take a look. Like Sarah said, we both very much highly recommend it. It's I know a lot of her fans were sharing their favorite art that she had done for her commission, she had done for them. So go ahead and take a look. But I guess lastly, he says, thank you both for the work you both put into the podcast. Please cherish each moment of life and get the most out of it you can, and may you find happiness in what can be a cruel and difficult existence. And as you can see, we laugh about everything, pretty much. I even tell terrible jokes that Sarah kind of laughs at, despite the fact that they're absolutely terrible, but she laughs at them anyway. So we're going to do our best to keep on keeping on and find that happiness and do the best we can to do well in our current and everyday lives. But that was right, Cal Left Coast. We are ready for the next time you write for a couple episodes. Well, next episode, which is a couple episodes from now for some people, I guess. Oh, not really. I guess it is the next episode. It just we always do.
Yeah.
I'm
it's like, confusing.
It's confusing because we do an episode early. We do an extra episode, so we're always one ahead. All right. Well, look, I think on a somber note, we will end it there. Again, glad to have a new listener as well. So, Kristen, thanks for coming on board. And if you're interested, there's an after show. Oh, I guess I should mention the reason why he wanted me to live a long life, because he had mentioned that earlier. Before I go, I will mention briefly that myself personally, I am sick, not too great. And you may not tell from my voice, but I am my kidneys have failed me. They're not working anymore, and I think that's why he's calling me out, because I need a new kidney in order to live that long and blissful life. And I'm just throwing it out there for anyone who may have one lying around, or one that they may have, made from a 3D printer that they could possibly give me. I don't know if I could take those, but if you happen to know someone who has a kidney or who is willing to donate, all I ask is that you go to a website that I will put, again, also in the description, uclakidneydonor.org. And it's a questionnaire, see if you're eligible, and if you are, awesome. Because I would love to keep doing more and more episodes of Is This Love, and it'll be it would suck if I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as I know, Sarah's not going to do this alone. So the solo show where Sarah just talks about her life and Jewish
Oh my
school.
gosh.
No, so so if you can, if you can spread the word, or if you know anybody, that'd be awesome. I've been kind of sharing it with everybody, and the response has been pretty good. But you can't be too careful. You never know. So that would be awesome. Look, we're not gonna. All I'm gonna say is we're gonna do an after show right now. $1 a month on Patreon if you want to listen. We're gonna have more fun. It's gonna be jokey and weird, and we're just gonna be silly. But if that's something you're interested in patreon.com/aka the other guy, and please go ahead and just write in. IsThisLovePod at gmail.com. IsThisLovePod on every social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You know what? And we'll just hug your loved ones, hug the people that are in your life, give them a big wet kiss, and cherish the moments you have with them, because you never know. But for now, just love each other, and we'll talk to you all next time. Bye, everyone.